So here we're going to be talking about functions and um, what makes them a function and what makes them not. When we are looking at these examples, we are going to be looking at equations. So, for instance, we've graphed a lot of equations. So here's one that I recall that I know I graphed in one of the videos: x cubed minus 16x. I don't know if you recall this or not, but it ended up being the shape like this, and it was symmetric to the origin. Um, when an equation is a function, what happens is that you can take the vertical line, and if you draw it through the line, it only crosses in one spot. Now, there were some equations that were not functions. One that I recall us looking at would be y squared minus 4, and also some circles as well. For this one, I don't know if you recall this, but this was going through -4, and it ends up looking like this. If I were to do a vertical line, it's crossing in two spots at that same x value. So what that tells me is that this is not a function. You can also look at y squared. This tells us that we have two y values for each x. And if you have two separate y values, that's not going to work for that same x. So sometimes you can just think of it like this. Another one that would not work would be like the absolute value of y, and even all of our circles that we are taking into account for, all of our circles. These types, all of these, as far as equations go, are not functions. So after this point of the semester, we're just going to be working with functions. Another thing is it's hard to put these in the calculator. If you can't type it in easily, it's not going to be a function. But we do have other situations where if you just have a list of points, where I'll show you what to look for to see what fails and what doesn't. So here is a list of points that I've written down on my paper. Okay, so here is the list. Now what I want to do is I want to go through and find any repeated x. If I find those, then that's going to kind of tell me what happens. If I look at the list, I can see that x is equal to 3 right here is going to be repeated here. We've got this example, each x goes to only one y value. Here we've got this one x going to two different y values. So this and this are different, and when they're different, that means that this list fails to be a function. So anytime this happens, this is not a function. So there's, you look at the y value to see if it's an even power or if it's an absolute value or if it's a circle. Remember, circles have where y is squared, so that's why that would not be it. But hopefully that's a good enough example of how that works.